If you want to reduce the chance of divorce to 0, pay attention. Never live with a woman until you are married. For the ladies listening, never move in with a man until you tie the knot. This is a relationship rule that I teach throughout my book, and I wanted to share it with all of you. This can save you from ruining your life. This is a rule for a very simple reason. It's for your safety. You do not move in or buy a home with your girlfriend under any circumstance. You never move her into your apartment. You never sign a lease or purchase property together. Until you are married, there is no reason to live together. In the modern world, people are taught the opposite. Shack up, move in, see where it goes. This is how you get unwanted pregnancies. People settle, lower their standards. They're too afraid to walk away because they've made a financial commitment. They want to see the investment through. Next thing you know, you're in a stale, boring marriage with someone you should have never been with. Being that close together when you're incompatible, there's red flags, or there's not enough attraction, it can be very dangerous. Because it's very hard to walk away when you are that close to each other. How can you go about living? Well, she can spend 5 times a week at your place and you can spend the weekend at hers. That's it. That way, you can simulate what it's like to be around her in a day-to-day setting without the risk of divorce. Until you have made certain that she is worthy of being your wife, there is no necessity to move in together. Just look at the divorce rate we have today. You can't blame it on marriage being bad. You blame it on the men and women that are getting involved with each other, who are immoral, lustful, selfish, broken people, and they don't understand the value that comes with matrimony. What we see today is the average couple typically moves in after a year or so of knowing each other, which is a terrible mistake. When you are in full effect of limerence, in other words, the honeymoon stage of things, you will overlook red flags if there are any, or she could easily hide from you in the beginning, the dating phase. When a man moves in with a woman, he makes a financial commitment to cohabitate with her. In essence, you are both behaving as if you were married without the actual commitment. Here is what I want you to consider. What happens if you realize that she isn't right for you and multiple deal breakers present themselves, but you moved halfway across the country to be with her? Or she did that to you. Do you want to break her heart? It's 10 times harder to dump her then, isn't it? What if she tells you she can't do this anymore and wants to break up with you? And you're blindsided by it. Then what? What happens if you find out you both want different things out of life and there's arguing, fighting? It becomes very toxic. But you've got a contract that's for the next year and a half on the apartment. What are you going to do then? You then have to go through a whole process of moving out, finding a new place to live, getting your life back on track, all while you wasted time, resources, and energy on the wrong woman. And this could have all been avoided if you stayed at your place or she at hers. Simple, isn't it? Most people don't think. They make decisions with their feelings. They don't use logic. And I know, for those of you listening, this advice may seem contradictory. I can't even count the amount of cases I've had of men and women from countries all over the world in the last 2.5 years that have been stuck in these terrible relationships, or it didn't work out, or they got betrayed, and they shacked up, they moved in together, they were boyfriend, girlfriend. And it's 20 times harder to pick up the pieces after that. So this is something you can avoid. Another thing that happens to guys is once they move in, they get complacent. They think, I'm living with her, so she's with me forever. She's not going anywhere. They get fat. They stop taking care of themselves. They stop dating their woman, right? They take it for granted. Or worse, you find yourself settling for her when deep down you know she's not the right woman for you. Next thing you know, she's pregnant one day, and then you end up getting married out of convenience because, you've had a kid out of wedlock, you might as well get married. In some cases, it can work if you both get right with God, but it's not usually what happens in today's world, is it? And this is how you end up stuck in a marriage with a woman you don't love. Don't be that guy. For you young men listening, pay attention. Do not waste years of your life or cause yourself decades of heartache by living together with a woman out of wedlock, because the consequences can be devastating. Be patient. Take your time to really get to know her before you make the ultimate commitment of moving in, getting married, and having children. Most people do it wrong. This is why we have a single father and single mother epidemic. People are hooking up, moving in, getting pregnant, and then obviously once that limerence wears off, they know they're not compatible. There's no substance there. They've got issues, they're messed up, they leave. And who suffers the most? Those children who grew up fatherless or motherless. If you do it God's way, which is you wait till marriage, you make the ultimate commitment of marriage, then you have children. See, that comes at the end. What do we see now? People don't do that. Hook up, sleep around, do what you want. Whoops, I got pregnant. That's a recipe for disaster. But what you can do is prevent this if you're single. Stay in your place and she can be at hers. It's really that basic. Now, the Bible tells us in Genesis 2 verse 24, therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. This right here is key. It's giving you a very crucial life lesson. Back in the day, men and women were always raised and prepared to be mothers, to be wives, to be husbands, to be fathers. So once they come of age, they would find someone that they found attractive, that was a good fit for them, and they'd commit, they'd get married and start a family, and they'd live a peaceful, quiet life. This is the first generation where we tell the youth, hook up, have fun, do what you want, there are no consequences. Get married later when you're older. And we're already seeing how that's turning out. People are living a rampant, promiscuous lifestyle. They're using each other for self-gain. And we're seeing the rise of single fathers, single mothers, kids growing up in broken homes. There's so much emotional damage that people are doing to each other because they're giving bits of their body, bits of their soul to so many people, and they can't bond. This is what's going on. Because this Bible verse tells us plain sight that the whole reason why a man grows old, leaves his mother and father, is to join together with his wife. This obviously goes for the ladies too. This is what we were made to do, to be fruitful and multiply. It's a biological need. And to men and women who are emotionally stable, you want to be a mother, you want to be a father, you want to have a family. It's normal, it's healthy. And that is something that God understands because he made us. That's why he says this in Genesis. This is the blueprint by which we should all live by. Isn't that fascinating, yet so simple when you understand it? But people today don't do that. It doesn't say, be Mr. or Miss Independent, sleep around, and then, one day get married. No, it doesn't, does it? One thing I see a lot in America is there's a very big mindset on as soon as you turn 18, leave home. And what happens is, when that occurs, you got young men and women who have all of their raging hormones It's the first time they're away from mum and dad. They have a chance to explore their interests. They're not taught self-control. They're not taught modesty. They're not taught the dangers of hooking up, right? And what happens? Those strict parents all of a sudden are no longer watching over your shoulder, restricting what you do. So they go all the way on the other spectrum and they lose themselves in that lifestyle and they hurt themselves as a result. In Europe, we see this too, more in Western Europe. However, if you look at more of the countries in Central to Eastern Europe that are more family-oriented, most people, they stay with mum and dad. They don't leave the home, quite frankly, until they've built their money up and they're actually ready to get married. And parents always did this historically as a way to protect their children from making terrible life choices. In some cases, they wouldn't even let them move in with their friends who were a bad influence because they understood this. So the best way to make certain that your sons and daughters were raised to be moral, to be righteous, they were taught discipline and sexual purity, was to keep them at home, was to educate them on these things and prepare them. This is the one thing a society is losing. And we're suffering as a result of it. You get where I'm going with this. This is why I mentioned this Bible verse. It's very important. So if you're a young lad or a young lady, you're in your teens or your early 20s, there is no shame spending a few years being at home. As long as you're building yourself up, you're getting yourself right. But in the meantime, if you find someone that's a good match for you, great. Then you can consider furthering things along. But you got to protect yourself. And this is why, historically, societies put such a value on modesty, on integrity, because they know how bad things can go when people are just taught to do what you want. We're seeing it in today's day and age in full effect. So please pay attention to that, right? This is why a man leaves his father and mother to hold fast to his wife. And if you feel like you're not ready for marriage, there's issues you have, that's okay. Take some time, make yourself ready, grow up, and one day you can make that decision. Instead of going in blind with your emotions and the first woman that comes along, you like each other, boom, you move in, and then it doesn't work out. Or worse, you have kids together and she leaves, or you want to leave, and then you create this whole toxic dynamic that you got to live with. Guys, you've got to protect yourself. For the ladies listening as well. So you can stay in your own place and she can stay at hers. Or if you're with family or she's with family, stick it to like that. You can consider marrying a woman after you've both made certain it's the right decision. This is different for everyone. Some couples tie the knot in 6 months and they live a happy life together. Others take 6 years to finally get married, but it also works out. And of course, this varies. The reason why I'm giving an example of 6 years is because, for example, maybe you met your girlfriend when you were both at high school and it's been 6 years since then, you're both in your 20s, you started working, but you're still financially not ready to marry, or at least you don't both feel like you're not, but it's something you both have wanted. So you've been boyfriend-girlfriend for 6 years, but ultimately you know you want to get married. There's different things that happen. Maybe you're in a 4-year relationship and then your father dies. And right now you're grieving and you're not ready to get engaged or get married to her. Or vice versa. Maybe she has a health crisis 2 years into your relationship. She's in the hospital with cancer. So you're not even thinking about marriage. You're kind of going through the motions. Then she recovers. Now she's getting her health back. So you're kind of you guys really aren't talking about those things yet. There are different factors that play in. But regardless, this is entirely subjective. If you vet each other's backgrounds and you make certain that there's mutual compatibility, chemistry, right, the things I always talk about, then perfect. That's a choice you've got to make together. But generally speaking, you should give it at least 2 years before you make the ultimate commitment. This should give you more than enough time to move past limerence and actually see each other for who you really are. So, if her behavior is consistent and she shows you through her actions that she's faithful and honest, then you can go ahead and propose to her. And at this stage in your relationship, the topic of engagement and marriage and family life should have obviously taken place. Not to mention, you should notice your woman dropping subtle hints. And of course, if she's a more confident girl, she may even be more obvious about it, more direct about it. But the signs will be there. So really, once you see that, then it's in your hands. Because if she's intelligent and she's ready to be a wife, she's also taken the time to make certain that you are husband material. So by this point, she will actually value and look forward to living with you because she will feel like she had to earn it, which makes her respect you even more. It's something you can both look forward to. On the other hand, by waiting to move in until marriage, you can also filter if she's worthy of being your wife or not. You may find out that she's not the woman you thought she was when you first met her. Okay, this happens sometimes. So if you, let's say your boyfriend, girlfriend, you're at your place, she's at her place, and you're 2 years into a relationship. If you, unfortunately, are involved with someone who is immoral, spoiled, and selfish, she's going to start throwing tantrums, threaten, and demand that you both move in before marriage. This is all the evidence you need to show you that she's not wife material. She doesn't understand the risks that come with shacking up. A girlfriend that does not take the time to prepare herself for wifehood and motherhood is not going to have the discipline and character needed to comprehend the sheer importance of not moving in until marriage. This lets you know that she's immature, impatient, and lacks faith. Not to mention, since she has made threats or tried to twist your arm to move in, then you know it's only going to get worse over time. Because why would she need to do this if she loves you? She should be patient, right? So any girlfriend who pressures you into marriage or tries to coerce you to move in with her when you're not ready is not a woman that respects you. And in fact, has proven to you that she's not worthy of being your wife. The trash has taken itself out. This is a win-win. This means you get to break up without ever having to go through a divorce, children, or worrying about splitting assets because you'd moved in. Isn't that simple? Couples who live together before marriage actually have a 50% greater chance of divorce than those who don't. And about 60% of couples who cohabit break up without marrying. So living together before marriage is different than living together in marriage, because you devalue the entire point of sharing your life together. This is what happens when people hook up. Sex doesn't mean anything to them anymore because you're giving the most intimate thing to a stranger or someone you don't know. So how is it even going to be special to you when you're in a commitment? It's not. How is it purposeful or wonderful? How can you look forward to sharing your life with your future spouse if you've been living together as boyfriend, girlfriend for the last 4 years? Right? It's just, it's another thing. God is very intelligent when he designed all of this. He wanted this to be something special, unique, that you only get when you are both committed to sharing your lives together. Those benefits come with that because it's for each other ultimately. And that's a beautiful thing. So for those of you listening who perhaps are currently in a relationship, right? Your boyfriend, girlfriend, you're living together and you're watching this, scratching your head thinking, well, what do I do, Christian? Well, I'll tell you. You've got two options. Number one, if you both know that you want to spend your lives together, get right with God, get engaged, get married, start a family. Do it the righteous way. Number two, this is going to be hard for some of you if you're in this boat. But if you know deep down that your partner isn't who you want to spend your life with, you don't want to have children with them, do not give them false hope. Because not only do you weaken your character, but you're going to cause them even more pain. So walk away, cut the cord, end it. Because if you stay in that relationship and try and convince yourself, I'm going to give myself more time to see if my feelings change, but you've been living together for the last 5 years and it hasn't gone anywhere, you're obviously settled. Because if you really wanted to marry her by now, you would have had these conversations. If she's been bringing it up and you kind of brush it off because you're not ready, because obviously you don't want it with her, you keep selling her this false hope that one day you'll change your mind and she'll keep trying because she's attached to you. And in doing so, you're going to hurt her and hurt yourself. What's worse is if you stay and you settle, you increase the risk of she gets pregnant one day. Then you're going to have to follow through and get married. But you're never going to have a desire to be intimate or really give your full attention to that woman, to be present with her, because you don't really love her. She's not really it for you. Guys, do not settle. Do not lower your standards. For the ladies listening, same thing. And these are things that people are not taught today because it's all about do what you want. There are no consequences. This was unthinkable 100 years ago. So please, if you're in that situation and you know they're not right for you, don't hurt them any longer. I know it's going to be difficult, but it's better for your future. Walk away and start fresh. And when you heal and you're ready to get into a relationship, do it righteously. And you will reap the rewards for that. If not, you will suffer for the situation that you're in now if you let it play out. So I hope I've made that very clear. This is a very serious thing. Never live with a woman until you are married. The risks are severe, and you can look up testimonials of people who have gone through a divorce, who have had kids with the wrong partner, and let them tell you how that affects their self-esteem, their mental health, their finances. For the rest of their life, it's something that they will always carry in their hearts. There's no escaping that. So if you want to avoid that and you're young, never live with your woman unless you're married. Do it the right way. Put principle over feelings. If you meet a woman and she's actually traditional, from the get-go, she will understand these things. She will be saying it to you too. Nope, I'm not moving in until we get married. Because she understands this. She needs to protect herself too. She needs to make sure that you're husband material. You're not the man who's going to take advantage of her. You're not settling for her. Because women have a very strong intuition, guys. And they know when you're in a 4-year relationship and you sitting there getting fat, you stop dating her, you obviously don't care about having a family with her, getting married. She's going to see that. She will lose respect for you. Because underneath it all, she knows, you know what, this guy, he isn't the man that is right for me. And she'll try and try and try, and then one day she'll have enough, and she'll dump you, and she'll walk away. And you'll be heartbroken. Because you built an emotional attachment, and you're too afraid to walk away. But someone's got to do it. So someone's going to be the man in the relationship. So these are all things that you must consider. Never, ever live with a woman until you're married. It's a principle that saved me a lot of heartache. If I look back at my other relationships that didn't work out, that would have been very bad if I'd moved in. It would have been, I could very well be a single father if that had happened. And it's not a laughing matter, because this is happening to so many people. And it's affecting their lives in ways that are unnecessary. It's totally avoidable. So, hope this video finds you well. I'm very curious to hear your thoughts down in the comment section. And of course, for those of you who haven't picked up a copy of my book, but would like to learn about relearning relationships, the things I just mentioned, that's in the relationship section of my book towards the end. And this is one of the roles. So I'll link that down below. Go to Amazon, order yourself a copy, and definitely love to hear your thoughts on that, how it helped you. So with that said, hope you'll have a wonderful day. God bless all of you and your families, and I'll see you all in the next one.